Margins of society and margins of mathematics. EDCI 735501, Current Issues and Research in Mathematics Education. The topic I chose is related to my daily teaching experience in the alternative campus. I teach in PSJA Elvis J. Ballou College and Career Technology High School. Most of our students were sent to our campus because of infraction they did in traditional campus, came from juvenile, young parents, teen pregnancy, 504, or special education.
Tonight we look at communities whose beaten path is harder than most and arguably the most difficult in the country. Perforated along South Texas, weaved throughout the counties along the Rio Grande Valley are neighborhoods that hug city limits on roads easy to miss, colonias. Native to southwestern states since the 1950s, with a population of nearly 500,000, Texas is home to the most of these communities along the 1,200-mile border shared with Mexico. And Hidalgo County makes up an overwhelming majority of that population. Brenda Garcia is the face of many. The 26-year-old single mother of three moved here 8 years ago from Mexico City.
Es muy diferente, sí, porque allá pues uno batalla, sufre muchas cosas allá. Y aquí hay beneficios que a uno pues, le ayudan mucho.
This view of the American dream is faced with many adversities.
The county doesn't traditionally have.
To define at-risk students, these are the set of definition of student at risk are discussed. Students who are at risk of not achieving the goals of education in order to become productive members of American society. Students which exhibit behavior that educators see as interfering with the educational process, including truancy, using drugs and alcohol, becoming pregnant, and etc. Students whose family or community background may place them at risk. These are the students that I'm strategically teaching, keeping their motivation high while in school and avoiding the margin of society. My topic is titled Margin of Society and Margin of Mathematics, which was related to research and learning mathematics at the margin, from shelter to school in chapter 30 of a book, Critical Issues in Mathematics Education. Most of the students that I'm teaching are 3 to 4 years behind the grade level. In my summary, there are 3 subtopics. These are at-risk students issue, helping at-risk students, teaching mathematics at-risk students. At-risk student issues. Not achieving the goals of education, which is not meeting local and state standard for high school graduation. Second is the learning disability of students that are at risk. Third, students with learning attention and behavioral disorder that interfere with the success of mathematics. The purpose of this research is to provide mathematics education for strict children who left home for various reasons and called margins of society. The problems of student at risk refers to students who, for whatever reason, are at risk for not achieving the goals of education. One of the reasons here in the Valley is the socio-economic status of the students and community. With the current situation, the students inclined to help their parents meet their needs. Another cause is students were involved in illegal drugs, such as using or selling as easy money to survive. And last is the early pregnancy forced the student to stop coming to school and care for the baby. Next is helping at-risk student. First is behavioral risk factor is indeed related to significant outcomes of school, even within racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, or language groups. Second is engaged behaviors engagement behaviors are more amenable to influence than traditional status indicators and should become the focus of educators and researchers. The notion of this margin is to understood by focusing on the margin. A new insight could be gained for the center, such as I would recommend looking for the sign of the student and help them at the early stage. Looking at students' behavioral risk factor is indeed related to significant outcomes of schooling, even with racial and ethnic, socioeconomic, or language group. Third, help at-risk student achievement may be termed marginal, exhibit behaviors much like those of successful student. And fourth, educate the parents. The goal of family living is for the student to acquire the knowledge, skills, attitudes necessary for successful personal and family living. In our district, we identify them in the earliest age. However, the lack of program to follow through with the student which has the same issues. Early persistent effort should be made to promote participation among youngsters who is involved in primary grades. Learners come with different disposition which shapes their intention in learning, both with reference to their backgrounds and their foregrounds. Here in our area, Rio Grande Valley, Texas, a specific approach is needed, particularly for the influx of immigrants along the border. The school district along the border should educate the parents regardless of immigration status about the importance of education. Help the parents to learn English language for after-school program. Educating both parents and students will help empower the education. And sixth, schooling must therefore lead to competency in at least 5 areas of human activity, such as basic skills, the world of work, the world of leisure time, the world of citizenship, and survival skills. Educating both parents and students will help empower education. Schooling must therefore lead to competency in at least 5 areas. Educating both parents and students are promoting increased students' participation, an action that can benefit both school and the family. The concepts such as communities of practice, learning is participation and belonging, and out-of-school mathematics are being used by researchers who do not necessarily identify them with equity stance or concern for social transformation. And the last, teaching mathematics to at-risk students. First is avoid discussing the past and keep engagement for better future after graduation. Second is investigate students' past and current issues, weakness, and strength. Third is share stories how to overcome problems so students will understand that most successful people went through the same struggle. As part of the solution to anticipate the increase of children at risk is early childhood programs and summer enrichment class for rural areas in Rio Grande Valley, Texas. This will help to close the learning gap and student educational activity which will help motivate them to learn major subjects such as mathematics, science, technology, and learn the English language. There is no perfect procedure in alternative school, but changing the culture will help the student to change the perspective in education. Fifth, we are flexible on submitting assignment and students make sure to keep continuous communication. Sixth, most teachers understand the situation of the student without penalizing the student. Before we teach the content, example, mathematics, history, science, or English, we investigate how and know the students' past and current issues. Tell students about the history or stories to reflect like people who are successful. As example, I told my student that I myself struggled in education during my career. As an immigrant, I was in middle school and a hardship of my family in California. I hang out with both good and bad childhood friends, but I chose to learn more about the good friends which supported me until I graduated from high school. Finally, in alternative high school, there are always variables that kept changing in terms of students' current issues or status. Most teachers should understand the situation of the student without penalizing the student's disruption in their school. In general, mathematics in particular is marked by moving several schools and very erratic attendance. For reflection, the first is student issues affect their ability to perform in the classroom. Second is students should not be judged, rather help them get back to their feet and continue to be educated. Third is help students to develop self-esteem. The educator should understand and be well prepared in and outside the classroom. Based on this literature, we can say that mathematics education has everything to do with today's social, cultural, political, and economic scenario that affects our student education. Between education and survival to live are the margins that every at-risk student go through every day. Most of the at-risk students want to learn and be better person like wise men, but the culture and economic condition are the hurdles that they need to overcome. To conclude this research, the margin of society and the margin of mathematics are interconnected for so many reasons. School administrator and educator must be aware of students' issues that are affecting their education. Some issues that can be solved must have immediate action to help both students and family in avoiding students fall into the cracks. Educators' intervention and school programs for parents, like learning the English language in our area here at Rio Grande Valley, will help encourage students to stay in school and finish high school. Continued development of vocational training skills and the functional independent living skills to assist special needs students in becoming emergent adults in the community. The program allows students to develop employability skills and access to post-secondary education. This will help special students to be productive citizens when they graduate high school. Finally, identify the students' issues and creating teaching strategy for at-risk students to build self-esteem, giving them multiple opportunities, continue follow through with the student, and teach students being accountable for their actions so they become successful in education. Thank you.